Phil, since he's not on yet. Oh, there it is.
I'm plugging. Seeing the computer see what there is.
Mr. Chairman, it's 4:15. Do you want to start the meeting? Looks like we have a quorum. Looks like you're on mute, sir.
Okay, fine. Do we have any preliminary business?
I just want to go over my regular spiel just to let everybody know that you'll be muted upon entry. So please keep yourself on mute until it's time for your case, and then unmute yourself so you can speak. This meeting is being recorded. It's being live streamed through YouTube. Unfortunately, our court reporter, Tony Gillum, is not here, but we will be able to get a transcript if needed through YouTube and the stream. Mr. Chairman, if you could swear in everyone individually rather than as a group, that way the applicants can be sworn on camera and we can have that for the record. And if anyone from the public is wishing to speak, when that case is called, please make yourself known and we will call on you. Other than that, we don't have any preliminary items, and if you'd like to call the first case, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. First case is GC 20-027, 2305 North Wilson Road. The applicant, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Can acknowledge you. Go ahead.
And Chris Stevens are here for the applicant.
Okay, ma'am. I need to swear you in. Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Would you repeat your name for the record and your affiliation to this case?
Tracy Deal, and I am an agent for the applicant, and my address is 6487 Hilliard Drive, Canal, Winchester, Ohio, 43110. Also
Thank you.
present is Chris Stevens.
Is she planning to speak to this case as well?
He is.
Yes. Sir, how about I swear you in at this time as well? Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Can you repeat your name for the record and your affiliation to this case?
Christopher Stevens, I'm one of the owners of the project.
Okay, sir, thank you. Who's making this presentation?
I am Chair Thompson.
Thank you. Would you go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2305 North Wilson Road is located on the northwest side of Wilson Road, approximately 430 feet south of Roberts Road, served by the West Scioto Area Commission. It's zone C4 commercial. The 2.6 acre site is developed with a hotel and associated parking. The hotel has a front wall sign and a side wall sign on both side walls. The rear facade does not have a wall sign, but there is an existing 35-foot tall pole sign primarily facing North Wilson Road. Surrounding uses include I-270 to the northwest, a gas station to the east, warehouses to the southeast, and vacant commercial land to the southwest. The applicant proposes to replace the existing sign with a new 60-foot pole sign in the same location, but facing the freeway instead. A special permit is required to increase the height of a highway-facing ground sign beyond 35 feet, not to exceed 75 feet. The Trabue-Roberts area plan discourages the use of freeway-oriented pole and excessively large signs. The requested sign is all of these things and therefore not supportable by Planning Division. The West Scioto Area Commission recommends approval of this request, and city departments recommend disapproval. Staff acknowledge the presence of similar signage in the area, which were likely built prior to current planning policies. However, the proposed sign is inconsistent with the area plan, which discourages the use of freeway-oriented pole and excessively large signs throughout the neighborhood, regardless of location. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to state into the record, we did receive 2 public comment letters in support, Mr. Chairman.
Did you want to read them into the record, or how did you want to handle those?
We have them available to share as content, and I believe you received them as a supplemental exhibit, did you not?
Yes, I did see them. Did all the other board members receive those letters?
Yes.
Is
Bill,
there
could
anyone that did not receive it?
That's for the record. So perhaps you could read the
Sorry,
names.
Jamie, what was that?
Read the names and the addresses of those who wrote the letters for the record.
Sure. These were 2 letters from Columbus Division of Police officers. So Officer Scott Klinger, badge number 494, and Officer Lawrence E. Geis, badge number 1570.
Would you mind just summarizing what the positions were?
Yeah, I can read one of them. To whom it may concern, I work directly with hotels across the city of Columbus as a liaison officer. New Era Columbus, the owner, has bought a distressed hotel that was known for drugs and prostitution. They have started turning this location around, and it is making a difference. I believe that bringing in new clientele and the upgrades to the property will have a major impact on the calls for service from the Columbus Police Department and the Columbus Fire Department. I fully support the New Era Columbus in the effort for a variance to increase the height of their sign at the Wood Spring Suites located at 2305 North Wilson Road. Sincerely.
Thank you, Mr.
So I would
Finch.
say the second letter reiterates the same thoughts.
Yes, that was my opinion as well. Who would you like to present your case?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Stevens will begin.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Stevens, you're on mute.
Oh, I just unmuted. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
There you
All right, great. Hopefully this presentation is now pulling up.
Yes.
As we obviously, the hotel is located on 2305 North Wilson Road. It is in the Trabue-Roberts plan, as previously mentioned. You know, part of the Trabue-Roberts plan, as we research it, is the area is an employment center, ensuring that economic assets are well maintained, enhanced is critical and provides an imperative to the economy itself within the area. Poor visual image is more than an aesthetic issue. It can have significant economic consequences, as individuals and businesses may be less likely to invest in an area considered undesirable. The central industrial sub-area, of which this area is considered, that's part of the Trabue-Roberts plan, is a significant economic development zone, and urban design standards should be used to improve the image and quality of life in the areas it means to attract a new business. We feel like everything that we're doing with this location fits exactly within what the plan originally intended when it was adopted. I'm going to go into a little bit of the history of the asset. It was originally constructed as a value place in 2007. Over the years, and you could probably argue the reasons for this are multiple. One of them is the visibility of the asset itself and the area it's located in. But the property became distressed and resulted in becoming a burden on city resources, the police department, fire department, and somewhat became a nuisance to the area. We recently purchased in July of 2020 the asset from the previous owners and have been working conjointly and step by step with the city attorney of Columbus, the city police department, the Scioto Area Commission, and Choice Hotels International to ensure that we put this asset back on the proper path to fit within those guidelines that the Trabue-Roberts plan originally incepted. A little bit about myself and New Era Development. We've developed multiple of these assets from new construction throughout. The nearest one to this location is Urban Crest, Ohio, which is 8 miles directly down 270. And in 2019, that location was voted the best in brand for entire Choice Hotels Wood Springs franchise. So we were the best operator in the entire brand. Another one of our locations in San Antonio was runner-up for the best in brand in 2020. Our intention is to bring that same operating model that has been successful in all of our other locations to this location to ensure that we fit within that Trabue-Roberts plan and are providing economic benefit to the area. You know, what we bring is we're enhancing the asset, and I'll go through kind of the general specifics of what we're doing to the asset itself, but we want to be aesthetically pleasing, energy efficient. We use sound reducing materials throughout the asset. Obviously, it's got civil engineering that's concrete curbing, LED lighting as far as energy efficiency, and we operate a 24/7 business staffing model and 24/7 guest laundry, and we're going to incorporate a new fitness center and a new exterior facade to the building itself. So what we're currently doing, the renovation has already started. All the plans have been approved. We are doing complete interior renovation of this asset. All the interior rooms are being renovated, new interior FF&E. The lobby is going to be expanded to a larger guest reception area. We're putting a workout facility in this location, and the exterior facade of the building will also be enhanced. These are some of the pictures of a previous location that we've just built in Fort Worth, Texas, and we are going to be modeling the lobby of this location. And I'd encourage you guys to, if you have time, to look at the asset in its current form and then look at these pictures of what we're going to be going to. It's definitely going to be welcoming in a different approach to what is currently there. So large welcoming lobby, nice new finishes, new workout facility that will be implemented into the hotel. In addition, this will be the look and feel of the exterior of the hotel once we get done with the exterior renovation of the property. The rooms, this is the actual room that we just reconfigured comparative to the way it looked in 2000 when we took over, and the way it was built in 2007 is a significant upgrade. All new finishes, new furnishings, large screen TVs, new appliances, So we're taking out and making a significant investment in the asset as a whole.
Mr. Davis, your 5 minutes has expired.
Okay, Mr. Stevens, may I ask if you have any, have you have any placards or anything to show us the location and height of the proposed sign?
Absolutely. So I had 5 minutes to speak, and then now I need to move on to the signage itself. Is that correct? I'll turn it over to Ms. Steele. I was just going to finish up the last two slides. So from the economic standpoint, we're upgrading the property and enhancing the property to direct, and this was how we're following with the Treby-Roberts plan. The aesthetics currently going into renovations to accommodate and attract exactly what they were originally trying to do, and also the intrinsic benefit of attracting that right type of guest and the surrounding community and businesses that are going to have the intrinsic benefit of that. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Deal and let her talk about the sign specifically.
Thank you.
Chairman, members of the board, I'll be brief. The sign is proposed to be positioned where the existing sign is. It would be 70 foot from the rear property line and 10 foot from the side property line and within the 660 foot of the interstate that the special permit requires, and it would be 450 feet from the outer belt. The sign proposal is going to be within an industrial commercial area that the Treby-Roberts plan takes into consideration that this property is predominantly in a commercial area. So the proposal of the sign is consistent with what the Treby-Roberts plan has for this area as far as it being an industrial commercial area. The special permit requirements, which would allow us to have a sign that exceeds that 35-foot height, is because we need to invoke those special permit requirements because the sign is being blocked by existing mature tree growth. The sign is within the 160 feet of the interstate, and so therefore the special permit requirements conflict with the Treby-Roberts plan, which leads us to where we are today. The sign location is proposed to be the same location. It would replace the existing sign, and there are no other ground signs on the property. It is important to mention that this location is an interstate exit location, so the safety of motorists traveling here is very important. Them being able to identify this at the posted speed limits is also extremely important. And the Treby-Roberts plan as well also speaks of the need for vehicles that are traveling in high congested areas to be able to navigate safely, and that is a concern of the plan as well. This particular property sits approximately 10 to 12 feet below road grade. So when we're talking about the height of the sign, we need to take into consideration that the property is in fact below road grade. And so the sign, while we may be proposing a 60-foot tall sign, that sign that we're proposing is really in essence only 38 to 50 feet above road grade. So it's not actually 60 feet above road grade. And based on the existing treescapes, the sign that is there now is ineffective. It is currently blocked by the existing treescapes, and it's essential for that sign to be visible from all directions of the property, not just the interstate, but from Wilson Road as well. There is a slide, Chris, if you could turn to the slide that shows what the existing sign looks like and the existing treescapes. This will really give you a good image of why, Mr. Chairman and members of the board of the commission, why we need this sign to be elevated in height. And the West Scioto Area Commission, which reports to council and supports council, is in complete unanimous support of this sign. So that I think should definitely be considered, that our original request, we modified it to satisfy the requirements of the West Scioto Area Commission, and we do have their complete support. This sign is in its current state, in its current code allowed state, is not visible anymore. It is blocked by trees, and as those trees continue to grow, it will continue to be blocked. Cutting down trees is not in keeping with the Trabue-Roberts plan. The Trabue-Roberts plan speaks of keeping things aesthetically attractive, and cutting trees is not aesthetically attractive either. So when you have a sign that's below tree elevation and it's blocked by trees and the sign is necessary for motorists to find their way there safely, it's really important for us to reconsider this special permit option that is available. Development should respect the character of the surrounding buildings. This area as a whole is industrial and commercial, and there are other signs of this height in this area. There is a marathon sign that is 60 foot tall, and along the 270 corridor within the Trabue-Roberts plan, there are other signs that are 60 foot tall. Upgrades to this property will promote that high quality development that's necessary, and the sign will not interfere with the visual character of the neighborhood. In that language that's established within the Trabue-Roberts plan, it specifically speaks to freeway, pole signs, billboards, sign benches, roof signs, large signs, LED signs, and other such electronic signs, and excessively large signs that interfere with the visual character are discouraged. I must impress upon you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, that this sign will not interfere with the visual character. And that language that's in the Trabue-Roberts plan is intended for things that would be, say, up against a residential neighborhood or up against a neighborhood that is more
Tracy, your time is up.
low profile. So the sign is absolutely necessary, and I am happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. Were you able to test the sign at any other heights below 60?
Mr. Stevens, no, I don't believe that we have, but I do believe that we have an image of the other sign that's at Urban Crest shown here on this slide that's on the right-hand side. And this is a sign that is equal and comparable in height and road grade to what we're proposing. This gives you an image of what it is that we're looking to accomplish. A sign that's just above the trees, not awkwardly above the trees.
So is that arrow that you're showing at the 60-foot height, or is that?
That arrow is the existing site on the left, and on the right-hand side is the Urban Crest sign, which sits above the trees.
I'm looking for something at the location in question. This is what 60 feet height looks like.
That would be the marathon sign. The marathon sign is, we sent somebody out to measure it, and it is 60 feet in height. And it is over across the street, and you have that slide right there. It's on the left-hand side. We actually used there's an app that you can get on your phone that measures trees and measures their height. And I actually sent someone out to the site to measure the height of the marathon sign, and it's 60 feet tall.
It just seems like that's a little bit higher than you need. Can you go back to the other slide? And those trees are not in your property.
One on the right.
Those trees are not, they're on the adjacent lot and in the common area. They are not on our property.
Okay. Are there any questions for anyone? Hearing no questions. Seems that this application, your sign is not any larger than the existing one, is it?
No,
That
it's
is
the same
correct,
size
sir.
as what's currently in place.
Okay.
Oh, I do have a question.
Okay.
The
Mike. Okay, thank you.
the existing sign looks like it had a computer message sign on it, so I'm assuming that's, and I look at the new one, it does not have that on there. So in essence, you are making your sign area, you're reducing your sign area, you're keeping the same size sign, but getting rid of the computer sign. Is that correct?
There was a manual reader board that was present, Mr. Hoy, and the manual reader board will be removed. We originally proposed a digital message board, but we were told that the digital sign was not in keeping with the Trayview Roberts plan, and so the compromise was to remove the digital sign, and we worked through with the West Scioto Area Commission to remove that. So yes, it would be a reduction of signage because the manual reader board would not be present. But the Wood Springs sign area message is consistent with what is currently placed for the existing ground sign, Wood Springs sign message.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hearing that, I think that this sign is in keeping with the location and the situation of blockage, and I would feel if it's appropriate for this location. Can we call the question? Mr. Benich?
Mr. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Carey,
Yes.
Mr. Mashinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Cooperman,
Yes.
Mr. Hoy,
Yes.
Chair Thompson.
Yes, and it is approved, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson.
Thank you for your
members
time.
of the commission. Have a good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
You too. Our next case is GC 20-029-770 Polaris Parkway. The applicant, please come forward. Make yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great, great. My name is Jim Bond. I represent National Illumination and Sign.
Sir, I need to swear you in.
Oh, sure.
Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Repeat your name and your affiliation to this case.
My name is Jim Bond. I represent National Illumination and Sign, and we are the sign installers and pulling the permits for the installation of the sign in question.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Merritt, are you presenting this case?
I am. All right, we've got GC 20-029. This is at 770 Polaris Parkway. This is on the northwest corner of Polaris Parkway and South Old State Road. It's Zone CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The site is development with a convenience store and gas station. Adjacent uses are predominantly commercial along both Polaris Parkway and Old State Road, though there are single and multi-unit residential developments in the area as well. The applicant proposes to erect a new ground sign to replace an identical sign that was removed due to the acquisition of additional right-of-way by the city along Polaris Parkway. A variance is requested to reduce the setback for the ground sign from 15 feet to 5 feet along Polaris Parkway. Planning supports the request. The proposed sign's elevation is consistent with commercial design guidelines in the Far North Area Plan and is therefore supported. The Far North Columbus Communities Coalition recommends approval of this request. The applicant proposes to reinstall the ground sign with a reduced setback from Polaris Parkway right-of-way. Staff can recommend approval based on the configuration of the site and a reduction in lot size due to the right-of-way acquisition. And we would condition this on signed and stamped exhibits. So the site plan and the sign exhibit that are presented to you in your staff report.
Thank you. Sir, would you present your case, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for your time tonight. Well, it's a pretty simple case. We had pulled a permit to replace the sign that was removed due to the right-of-way take, and we had a permit in hand, and we received a site plan after the fact that showed the sewer pipe that was running right in the location of where we had intended to place the original sign. That, of course, can't happen, and as you can see, I can bring up the anything you might want to see here. Let's see here. There we go. If you'll see the yellow line there represents the sewer pipe, and that is right along the same exact location where the sign was originally intended to be placed, with a 15-foot setback as required. The 5-foot setback is the maximum setback that we can have for that sign at that location. And we opted to keep the 15-foot setback from Old State Road, so we at least have some sort of code conformance in this respect. As you can see, the hardship is pretty obvious there. We can't get any closer to the sewer pipe than the 5 feet that's shown, due to sewer pipes being surrounded by pea gravel. And if we were to dig, we would expose that gravel and it would pour into the hole that we would dig. It's a pretty simple situation, simple hardship actually, but I'll let you make that decision.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You bet.
Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, is there anyone else that would like to speak to this case? Not hearing any response from this description and this location. This appears appropriate for this location. Can we call the question, Mr. Merritt?
Mr. Mashinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Cooperman,
Yes.
Mr. Hoy,
Yes.
Mr. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Carey,
Yes.
and Chair Thompson.
Yes, and it is approved, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You have a good evening.
You too. Our next case is GC 20-024, 40 Hutchison Avenue. Is there someone present from the applicant for this?
Yes, Joe Thomas with Metro Development.
Yes, sir. Need to swear you in. Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Could you repeat your name for the record and your affiliation to this case?
I am Joe Thomas with Metro Development, the owner of Lincoln Point. My address is 470 Old Worthington Road, Suite 100, Westerville, Ohio 43082.
Thank you. Mr. Freeze, you're doing this one?
Yes, sir. Ready? Okay, this is a familiar case to us. We've heard it once before in 2019, and then it was before the commission last month. Question as to the size of the sign, the necessity of the size of the sign, and could it be reduced. So, applicant, to speak with the owner.
I'm sorry, Jamie. Is there someone else that needs to mute themselves besides Mr. Thomas, because we're getting a lot of feedback? And everyone mute yourself while Mr. Freeze is speaking, please. Okay.
All right, I'll continue. Again, the site is developed with an apartment complex with ground floor commercial uses, including a fitness center, and neighboring uses are commercial. The applicant was granted a GRAPS plan in 2019 for a 505-foot roof sign. The applicant now proposes adding an additional 98 square foot wall sign to the 5th floor to better identify the use, and is requesting a variance to increase the allowable graphic area from 588 square feet to 603 square feet. The Far North Area Plan recommends wall signs be compatible with size, scale of the building and streetscape, as well as not obscure or interfere with architectural lines and details. The proposed signage does not meet these standards in combination with the excessively large existing sign. Therefore, the Planning Division does not support the request. The Far North Columbus Communities Coalition, however, does recommend approval. City staff is recommending disapproval as the area plan does not support the type of signage or directing large signs towards the freeway. We will turn it over to the applicant.
Jamie, I really appreciate your time this evening, as well as the board. Again, Joe Thomas, Metro Development. Morrison Signs, Representative Abby, was not able to attend tonight, but my understanding is that she has given a previous presentation on this sign and asked me to join this evening to give you a little history of this location. We built and started the occupancy of this particular location in October 2018. If you jump forward, of course, 2 years in time, we've yet to occupy the entire building. Our fear, and it's probably more accurate than just the fear, is that people do not recognize this particular building as an apartment, but associate it with hotels, and particularly in that Campus View, Hutchinson, Vantage Driveway area. The request before you, like Jamie mentioned, we did go to the Far North. We did get their approval. We believe that the sign that calls us out as luxury apartments is not offensive, but keeping the nature with the other signage in the area. Most signs in the area call out, a hotel. So we thought this was in keeping of, if a hotel is called out as a hotel, and particularly like the Sheraton and so on and so forth, this would be helpful in calling out an apartment, which, would generate more traffic for the particular area and, of course, help us to lease the property. Like I mentioned before, we've been leasing this since October of 2018. We average roughly 6 leases a month. Our current average on any other community is 20 leases a month. We would traditionally, in this particular location or this particular type of unit, would lease the entire development of the 157 units in 7.5 or 8 months. I'm sorry, but we're still, like I mentioned before, we're at 2 years when we have yet to completely occupy the area. So our request is simply to call out the building what it is, help us market the building. We've made other attempts with temporary marketing throughout the area. Unfortunately, this is a highly visible area, so a lot of our traditional marketing efforts have been, found to be in violation of any other marketing efforts. We have individual real estate signs in each corner. We have balloons and flutter flags in order to drive traffic, banners, seasonal banners of that nature in order to drive traffic, but we have not been successful in keeping those up for any amount of time without finding a violation from Columbus. So, of course, we take them down immediately and dispose of them. So in order to continue to avoid any type of issues with City of Columbus zoning, we thought the best effort this evening is to actually affix a permanent sign that calls it out for what it is. And like I mentioned before, we think it's in good taste and effort as far as that sign. So I appreciate your time and here for any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
I have a question. Jamie, we need a variance here because luxury apartments is describing what this is, and it's on the 5th versus the 2nd floor. Is that right?
No, the variance is not for the content of the sign. The variance is for the location and the square footage. So the code says you're only allowed a wall sign for a multi-level building on either the 1st or the 2nd floor, or if you want to name the building, you're allowed one wall sign anywhere you want, and that's what we're going with as far as they're naming the building. They're only allowed 603 or 588 square feet. They're increasing the square footage to 603. So if they reduce the sign by 15 square feet, they would only need the variance for location.
I still don't understand the location piece. So what if it was called Lincoln Point Apartments and that was the name? Would it be okay?
Yeah, it would be okay, but only if it was on the first or second floor.
Okay. I'm still confused, but okay.
Jamie, if they were to take the point and changed it to a stack sign that said Point Apartments, Lincoln Point Apartments, so that point isn't one sign, but it's a stack sign. You know what I mean? One on top of the other.
Phil, can you go to the slide? It shows the proposal. So Rich, you're saying if it was all above the roof line,
Yeah.
Lincoln Point Apartments?
What if he shrunk the size of Point and put luxury apartments underneath it, and that's the name, Lincoln Point Luxury Apartments, but it's all on one plane. And does that work?
Yeah, that would. They were granted a roof sign with a specific square footage, not, and I don't think we don't limit it to content. So if they wanted to redesign their roof sign and do that, they would be within their previously approved graphics plan.
Because there has to be a hardship proven here, correct?
Right.
For the variance, correct.
And personally, I find it, I'm sorry it's not as successful, and I wish it would be. I think, but that's, to me, is not the hardship. The hardship is you chose to name it Lincoln Point, and you emphasize that, and unfortunately, it's not working. So I have a hard time finding the hardship that the site itself produces.
I agree. I think this mirrors a lot of the discussion we had last time we looked at this. If just simply wanting a larger sign is a hardship, then literally any applicant in any situation would have a hardship. There's got to be some reason why this situation presents a special challenge. Here, it just seems like the graphic design within the space needs work. It's not necessarily an inherent problem, the square footage that's allocated. So I agree, I don't see a hardship here.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this case? Not?
May I say something? Mr. Thomas?
Sure.
Would you be interested in perhaps going back to your signage folks? I know Abby couldn't make it, but perhaps going back to discuss perhaps reworking the sign so that it would be in compliance and ultimately be permitted?
Yes, yeah, I guess we've never looked at that in that realm, so I really do appreciate the thoughts and the suggestions. I don't think that's beyond reasonable. So we'll discuss it with Morrison Sign and see what we can come up with. If I don't know from Jamie's standpoint, do we need to come back for additional hearing, or would it just be an application for a permit?
Any table it, Jamie?
Yeah, I'd motion table it so that ultimately, if it gets decided that it doesn't need to come back to it, great. But if it does, at least they have the opportunity to come back again and present it if need be.
I'll second Rich's motion.
Okay, it's properly moved and seconded. And all those in favor of the motion to table, use the sign of aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Mr. Freeze, this is tabled for our next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Is there anything else, Mr. Freeze?
No, sir. That is it. Thank you for a quick meeting.
I'm glad it's quick. Thank you, guys. Have a good week. Have a good month. Stay safe.
All right.
We'll see you next month.
We'll see you next
Thank
month.
you.
Phil and Michael, stay on.
Yep.
All right, so I was just looking at my staff report, and for some reason, I had the wrong code section cited. Because I was going to pull up the right code section for that question that Mr. Cooperman had. I think I had, oh, never mind. I had 3377049B, which is to increase allowable graphic area. I don't know where 049B comes from. It should have just been 04. But 337720B specifically states, for your guys' own knowledge, you're only allowed for wall signs identifying individual uses can only be on the first or second floor. Otherwise, they need a graphics plan, or they can just name the entire building, which is what they did. So, all right, so that's that. Just a quick announcement.
So you said if they name the entire building, which they did, then they could put it anywhere?
Correct, but they'd only be allowed that one wall sign. So since they have a roof sign, it negates that.
Oh, yeah, because you're separating the two.
Right, which is another question I'm going to have to ask Walter or Nick is, the variance was to increase the allowable graphic area for a wall sign, but they counted the roof sign, so I wonder if that should be for the elevation. So just a few little aha moments I had when I was reading that, but I don't know. Tomorrow, I'm taking tomorrow morning off, just 3 hours, personal time, got a doctor's appointment. So if you need me, text me. And then Friday's field. Do you have any volunteers? Michael, it's your turn. You good? Cool.
I'm good.
All right.
I'm off tomorrow, just a reminder.
Okay, so you're off too. I did just get one late application this afternoon from Steve Fox, who I said if he got it to me today, we'd look at it. Make sure the proposed cases Excel sheet is up to date so we can distribute that evenly. I got a bunch, but a lot of them, like as you saw from the BZA staff reports, 2 of them are going in for, or well, one of them is going for this month, even though I just took it in, but it's one that has been through transportation and it's been through BZA already. It's an easy one. Another one's incomplete, so if it works out fine, then I'll keep that one, but if not, I'll probably pass it on to Dave. I think he's next on the list because he had 2 drop off. He's only got 3, and I think the rest of us have 4, or I will have 4, but I think that's it. You guys have any questions or comments?
Nope.
Not on YouTube anymore?
Oh. Hey. Stop live streaming.
Those committed people.